Let's check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk's The State of Crypto newsletter. Hello there, Nick.
Good morning.
Right. We're seeing that there's a continuation of Bitcoin ETF rejections.
Yeah, the SEC is continuing to say that it doesn't believe the Bitcoin market is mature enough or has sufficient surveillance mechanisms in place to protect consumers should a Bitcoin ETF be approved. Most recently, the Ark 21Shares Bitcoin ETF was rejected. My guess is we're probably going to see the remaining slate of ETF applications also be rejected. The market hasn't changed in the way the SEC wants it to. There's no exchange with a sufficient market size with a surveillance sharing agreement with some kind of body that can maintain that. And the SEC has cited that. It cited concerns about market manipulation, cited concerns about the size of stablecoins like USDT. Continuing to cite these things in its ongoing rejections.
All right. Meanwhile, heading over to Europe, we saw that out of the blue, this EU lawmaker came up with this travel rule legislation that would require exchanges to report all transactions to and from unhosted wallets. Maybe you could break that down for us and tell us, how far along is this legislation?
Right. So this is something that went through the European Parliament last week. It was introduced a week before, passed through the Parliament, and is now going to be discussed by the Parliament and the EU Council. So two groups of lawmakers, including representatives from the member nations. Now, what this proposal does is it basically enforces a travel rule on crypto transactions, but it enforces them on all crypto transactions. It's slightly more stringent than the travel rule that we originally saw from the Financial Action Task Force, which is the International Money Laundering Watchdog, which recommended a travel rule in the first place. The FATF version basically would require these kinds of KYC and transaction data collection requirements on transactions above 1,000 euros or $1,000, that range. It's about $100 difference between the two. And the EU version that we're seeing now would be somewhat broader than that. It would encompass, I think, all crypto transactions. It would enforce know your customer requirements on unhosted or private wallets. So any wallet that you're maintaining on your own that isn't run by an exchange or by a service. And a lot of the industry is concerned about this because it might require these wallets to somehow collect information that they literally cannot. If you have an unhosted wallet, are you expected to collect know your customer information for anyone transferring crypto to you, even though you are not an exchange or a money service business? So that's one of the concerns that's I think kind of top of mind for a lot of people looking at this bill. Now, as to whether or not this bill will be...
This sounds a lot...
Yeah.
This sounds a lot like the concerns a few months ago in the U.S., correct? Over what constitutes a broker.
Exactly. So, it's exactly like that. It's even exactly like the unhosted wallet rule that we saw at the end of the Trump administration when Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin introduced that midnight rulemaking to actually enforce a very similar process. So, there's this has been kind of an ongoing concern. The unhosted wallet rule from the U.S. was ultimately shut down, basically. The broker concern, the Treasury Department has said that it's not going to go crazy with that. It will restrict itself to parties and entities that actually do have this information and can provide it. So it remains to be seen what will happen in the EU, but it does look like this is so far going to go ahead as designed.